So welcome back everyone to this session. In this session, see the thing is, before we talk about what the session is, let me talk about the problem. And when I made a video on this on YouTube, we have mentioned this problem before. And the problem is, when I started my Java career, I started with Java 7. I'm sure Mandar started way before that, but I started with Java 7. Then Java 8 came into picture, and Java 8 came up with a lot of different features, and I was very happy. Everyone was happy with those features. But then things started changing after Java 9, because Java 8 came after 5 years of people excited and they started learning Java 8. But Java 9, Java 10, Java 11, they are coming in every 6 months. And now, as a human, we have this tendency when you learn something, you feel that's enough. I can work on this. And suddenly you get a new version and then you don't want to upgrade. And that's the same thing happened with me last year as well, because I was into blockchain for 3 years and I was away from Java. Now, when I came back to Java, I was a bit nervous. Yes, I have worked on Java for long, but then still coming back to Java, I was a bit nervous that can I learn those concepts properly? And then I realized, hey, you don't have to learn all the versions, or you don't have to learn every topic of each version. Learn those things which are important for you to make projects. So let's say if your company moves to a different version, are you comfortable? And that's why we were having discussion, so Mandara and I. And then we realized, okay, so can we have a small session where we can help everyone to understand those new features? Not all, of course, it's difficult to talk about all the features in 2 hours, but whatever we can discuss, and we will do that. Now, why only Mandar is because we wanted to get this thing done by someone who has done enough work on this. And that's why we got an author of a book who talks about the versions, the new updates from Java 9 to Java 17. I'm sure the next version is coming up for 21, Mandar?
Yes, that is true.
Okay, cool.
We're up to it.
So first of all, thank you so much for joining this session, Mandar, and helping everyone to understand the new features. I know with your weekday busy schedule, Sunday is the only thing you can relax, but here you are to talk about Java 9 to Java 17. So we can start this session, and Mandar, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Naveen. It's my pleasure always to talk about the technology, and it's always a pleasure to communicate with Telesco and Naveen always. We have been working together around for 5 years, and I know Naveen personally from all these years in the different kind of maybe experiences and all that thing. Lot of things we have done together. It's a fun to talk about that maybe some other day.
Yes.
So it's time to move ahead and talk about maybe about the versions and all that thing. So before even I go forward, I would like to talk about something about history of Java, and then we will move ahead and we will talk about some of the features. As Naveen rightly said that launching of a version was not very something which was I would say a continuous process when it comes to any of the programming languages. When you talk about programming language like Java, it takes years for Java earlier to launch the new versions. Like I started my journey from maybe even Java 1.5, or I do not remember, even I did some work in 1.3 as well, 1.3, 1.4. And then 1.5 came into picture, and a lot of things were there in 1.5, the updates in the collection and a lot of other stuffs were there. And then nothing happened after so many years. And then there was a JDK version 1.8. Now the challenge was one of the things which developers were always curious to know about is that when is the new version coming into the market, and how would I know that the new version is coming, and what are the new features which are coming into the market. That's what one of the major challenge that even I face, that when I go into the consultancy, when I go into the maybe some trainings that I do always, how do I know that I'm working with the current version? Do I need to always talk about maybe, or do I need to always communicate with the Sun website or maybe now Oracle website to find out that what is the current version and should I download it always and then get it acquitted with that? But then understanding all these things, when it came to Oracle Corporation, they found a solution on that, and they started creating something which is a cycle of releases, which was a 6 months cycle of every release of Java. So we are going to start about that. We are going to talk about the overview of different versions and what are the new features which are in the in the respective maybe version. You can type your questions in the chat. I can already see some of the questions related with the maybe the career or maybe related with Spring and Spring Boot. I'm sure Naveen will able to guide that, and also some of the questions I can answer after my session completes. But of course, you can type the questions as and when you feel. So let me open up my presentation and I'm going to share my screen. Here I go. I hope my screen is visible and you can see my presentation, which is on Java 9 to 17. And talking about myself, I'm Mandar, and as Naveen has already mentioned, uh, one of the things that I always do is that I talk about Java and I explore Java. That what are the new things that are coming into the market of Java. So it has been kind of a hobby for me over the years when this maybe cycle is coming into the version releasing and all that thing. That what are the new features which are coming into the market and all that thing. So I'm always connected with that particular maybe scenarios when the new version is coming and the new updates are coming. Now, why Java 9.9.0 to 7.0 and 17.0? Why not 18.0, 19.0, and so on and so on? The reason is that 17 is currently a LTS version which is released by Java, and they are saying that most of the updates and the commercial support has been given to 17.0, and that's the reason we are more focusing on 9 to 17. And if you look at the industry currently, there are still the people in the industry, those who say that we still want to work in Java 8.0 because anything above 8.0 is not that much exposed in the industry or not that much tested in the at least Indian industry. This book has been written maybe around 2.5 years ago, and I'm getting good responses on this particular book. Along with that, there is also one of the book which talks about the different questions on the interview that you'll get in Java, which is Java Professional Interview Guide, and Java 9.0 to 13.0. So this was the first book when I started actually getting more curious about the new things which are coming into the market and how the versions gets updated and all that thing. So let's begin a journey about Java 9 to Java 17. Before I even begin, how many of you are already working in Java 17? Can you just maybe put this into the chat so that I know that what is the audience that I'm dealing with? Yaman is saying that he's working very good. Okay, few of you are working. And anyone is here who do not know even Java 8? Like there are people, I would say that people, those who are not good in Java 8 also. Anyone like that, don't be shy. You can still claim that I'm not good in Java 8 also. That is still fine. Not in Java 8. Okay, perfect. The first thing that you should do when you work in the technology that you should be true to yourself rather than true to everyone else. Okay, many of you are not good in Java 8. So my first advice to all of you is you make sure that you learn Java 8 very properly. And when I talk about Java 8, typically, I talk about the functional interfaces, lambdas, stream APIs, and all those features which are part of Java 8. So unless and otherwise you know all these things, it is very, very difficult nowadays to make a career in Java 8, understand that, or in any of the Java versions. And good thing about functional interfaces, lambdas and stream is that if you do that good in Java, there are other programming languages, other frameworks also which are using that concepts. And the switching between Java to maybe other frameworks or maybe other programming language, though I do not want you to do that being a fan of a Java, but that would be very, very simpler to all of you. So don't try to run away from functional interfaces and Lambda. I would say that I can compare it with the pointers if I talk about very early days of C programming. Like when I used to learn C, I was always finding a reason that can I do it by not using pointers? And similar is the condition when I started my journey of functional interfaces and Lambda. I always started learning in such a way that can I do it without functional interfaces and Lambda? And then there was big bottleneck. So you cannot bypass. Probably you can work in the core Java and you can say that without functional interface, I can do that. But then if you talk about the frameworks and other things, it will be very difficult. Some things will be next to impossible if you do not work with lambdas and maybe functional interface and strings. So make sure that you are good enough in those particular concepts so that you can learn the new features, because most of the new features are actually connected with the lambdas and functional interfaces. Okay, so that's about me. That's about the Java. That's about the mindset that you should have. Let's move on and talk about few things. And today we'll be talking about, or we'll be taking the overview of the major updates. As this is the introductory workshop, as Navin always already mentioned, we will get some introduction about the updates, which are the version differences and all that thing. And maybe some other day we can talk about whenever maybe Telesco gives me opportunity, we can talk about maybe specific versions, and you can take a specific workshop to specific version or specific feature that can be possible. So let me talk about maybe what are the new things irrespective of the versions, and then we will talk about the specific version things which are available in the specific versions. So uh, there are improvements in the interface. So this slide talks about maybe what are the things which are new overall in 9.0 to 7.0, which are the concept that you should maybe consider, or which are the concept that you should maybe explore, so that you understand that there are some updates that are the things that are actually part of this particular slide. So there are some changes in the interfaces, and you have seen there is a lot of things happening when I talk about the interfaces. You talk about Java 8, and you might have seen that for years, right from the birth of Java, we talk about the interfaces when we do not talk about the method implementation in the interfaces. Then Java 8 came into picture, which said that everything that you know about interface will be now, you have to reverse your gears, and you have to say that even interfaces can have the methods which were default methods and static methods which are available in the interfaces, which was having the implementations as well in Java. So there is still a improvement in the interface. I'm just talking about 9 to 17. It's not about 8 yet. So there is still some scope of the improvement in the interfaces which has happened in couple of or maybe one of the version. Uh, there are huge updates in the string API. Though when I always talk about string, I say that string is something which is one of the largest API available in Java. A lot of methods, a lot of things are available in the string. But to your surprise, one of the major thing which has been modified in all these versions is the string API. Collection plays very important role in all the business scenarios, and there are lot many things. Uh, lot many things are available into the collections which has been modified. I can see one chat there which talks about which point is the session now. So we are talking about what are the overall changes from 9.0 to 17.0, and then I'm going to talk about the individual versions and individual updates. Okay, and the next thing is that there is update in the optional interface. You might have seen there are few things which are available in the optional interfaces. You have used optional interfaces to find out that how do I use optional interface so that I can avoid null pointer exception if the object is not retrieved and all that thing. So even there is some update available now in the optional interface. A very new concept has been introduced, which is called as a module, which we are going to talk about from the beginning, where entire structure of Java have been changed from whatever you have known from the beginning. There is a concept called as a record classes. If someone of you might have used the Lombok dependencies, Lombok frameworks, where you generate the getter setters and all these things, it is similar kind of a thing which is introduced in Java, which is nothing but record classes. We'll talk about that when I come to that particular point. Uh, there is kind of a local variable type inference, which is talking about how do I declare the variable similar to scripting languages. See, the concept is that Java is trying to compete with all the programming languages at the same time. It is trying to find out what is good in JavaScript, let me capture that. What is good in PHP or Python, let me capture that. Why these languages are maybe famous in the market and all that thing. And that could be one of the reason new updates are there. And of course, it's not only about the competition, it's about the functionalities that particular programming language has to provide. So uh, That's something which is local variable time inference available. Switch case is something which is relatively new, which is modified in one of the version in Java. Apart from that, there is a concept of a JShell, which we'll talk about, that you can test your program or snippet of the code without writing any code, and how to do that. We'll talk about that. And there is another update which is called as a text block as well. Why to use text blocks, in which version is it released, and all that thing. We will discuss that. Okay, so these are the things which are overviews, and these are the things the new versions will have inside that. Let me talk about one by one now different features in the versions, and different things which are available. Okay, so let us begin with Java 9, 10, and 11. This slide talks about the again different versions, and each of the version, what that version comprises of. Remember that we are not going to talk about each and every update, as Naveen already mentioned, because we don't have that much time also available. But we'll talk about few of the contents, and we'll talk about what is the updates which are available into that. Java 9. Now, I want to maybe observe for all of you two different things. One is, of course, the version name and what are the things which are available. And along with that, look at these particular dates which are available. It is September, March, and September. So if I talk about September to September, it is 1 year, right? So within 1 year, I would say three different versions are launched. So September and March is 6 months, and March and September is again 6 months. So this 6 months version release cycle is continuously followed from Java 9 onwards. Okay, so if you just count from Java 2 2017 September to September 2023, we are in 23, I guess. Okay, so September 2023, you will able to find out the what is current version available, which is released by Java. Of course, as I told you, not everything is long-term support. Some of the versions are still in the testing phase, or maybe alpha release or beta release, but still the versions are already released. Java 9 uh, talks about modular programming. This is new thing which is provided. Then they introduce JSL, as I told you. The interface updates which are given in Java 9 is nothing but private methods in the interface that you can add. And if I talk about Stream API in Java 9, there are three methods which are available, which we will talk about, which is take while, drop while, and iterate method. You can excuse me for the typos. Sometimes it is unnecessary capital and all that thing, but this is the method signature, iterate. And they have got the different significances based on the scenarios which has been used. In the collection API, it is creating something which is called as unmodifiable list, set, and map. So there is a separate method launched using which you can create unmodifiable list, set, and map in the collection API. Arrays has been changed. It is not array actually; it's arrays class, and it has been changed with modified with three different methods now: equals, compare, and mismatch. Very interesting method, mismatch, which has been introduced in Java 9. And in the optional interface, as I mentioned, in the optional interface, there was only one method available earlier, which is called as a get method or get if present kind of a method. But now in Java 9, there are three methods which are available: if present or else, or method, and stream method. To your surprise, many of the things have been actually changed when I talk about filtration of the object, when you talk about serialization and deserialization. Uh, I know that in many of the programming business scenarios, or maybe when you learn Java, maybe in the books or maybe in your course somewhere, there is not much of the focus given on the maybe serialization and deserialization. But in the real-time scenario, there is lot many things that we do with the serialization and deserialization, and industry has got a lot much importance about how do you serialize and deserialize your objects. But then there was no control on the serialization and deserialization, and lot many times you might have observed that your application is failing at runtime when you mismatch your objects which has been passed in the serialization process, and when you want to retrieve that particular object. All these things have been now controlled by applying some filters in the serialization and deserialization process. And for that, actually, object input filter interface has been introduced. And in the Flow API, if someone of you is good in Flow API, then you will see that there are 4 different classes which are actually launched: subscriber, publisher, submission, and submission publisher. This is about Java 9. If I talk about Java 10, local variable type inference, so as someone already mentioned, it is dynamically typed language. Conversion is there. In the collection API, now you can create the copy of your collection automatically, or by just invoking one of the method, which is called as copy of method. And in the stream API, there is now the method which is called as to unmodifiable XXX, as in you can create unmodifiable list, unmodifiable set, unmodifiable maps, and all that thing. And the optional interface here also, another method has been introduced in the optional interface, which is or else through. And then there is application class data sharing. Few of the methods are there which will be related with the performance. Few of the methods will be there which will be related with the deployment and all that thing. So this is related with kind of the which is used at the deployment kind of a thing. How do you share the application classes and all that thing? In Java 11, there is not much things which are launched to surprise, and that is going to happen, because if I say that I'm going to launch something at least in each of the 6 months, there would be the case that Java developers say that this is what I'm trying to achieve after 6 months. So they will come about something which is called as a JEPs. Anyone knows about what is JEP? If you know that, please update me in the chat. JEPs, JEP, if you know that. If you do not know, JEP is Java Enhancement Proposals. Now, what is Java Enhancement Proposals? It is kind of maybe something that you do in your college projects, that I'm going to propose that at the end of this semester, I'm going to achieve this kind of output to my project. So what happens in the API development is that what happens in the API development is that the developers actually sit together and they find out the business need of the particular programming language, and they come up with one of the maybe proposals, or maybe few of the proposals, and then they say that we are going to plan, or we are planning that in the next 6 months we are going to work on this particular concept, and we are going to release the API based on that, and they will call it as JEPs. That is nothing but Java Enhancement Proposal. uh, Now, earlier, what happened is that prior to Java 9, that Java used to say that unless I do have something which is really, really drastic, I will not change my version. And they will release it in the minor version. That's why you might have seen that there is version maybe 5.1, 5.2, that major and minor versions will come into picture. But then when it comes to 6 months release cycle, Java has no any option than maybe working for night outs day in and day out for the developers. They do that. But then even after that, let's say if they propose maybe 11 proposals in the beginning, let's say they propose 11 proposals in the September after release Java 11, and after maybe working on maybe 6 months or so, in the March 2019, they came to know that they could achieve only 3 or 4 out of that. Okay, but then the problem is that it has been already committed to the developers that I have to release the versions after 6 months. So they will release it with the 2 or 3 updates only. And that's the reason probably few of the versions, you will see that there is not much of the updates available. Java 11 is one of that, I would say, not much of the things available into that. So there is a reflection API available. And in the string API, few methods which are launched, which is nothing but strip methods, strip leading, strip trailing, is blank, lines, and repeat. There is an update in the type inference concept as well, wherein you can use that particular thing in the Lambda parameters as well. There is change in the HTTP client object. And earlier, if you work with the HTTP client, then there were different methods, and the methods were kind of a confusion to all that thing. And that has been now created something which is nothing but standardized HTTP client. So the question, what would happen if after releasing the version, they realize that there is a security issue in that release version? Okay, so Masood, after that, they will be given you the minor version update as well. and they will be releasing that particular security related stuffs and all that thing. Okay, so time-based release itself is a big topic to talk about. I'm not sure if that is covered in this book, but if I talk about my other book in 9.0 to 13.0, there is a separate topic about how the versions are released and how the JEPs are proposed, and what happens if there is security threat and all that thing. So there is, I would say, something which is called as a cooling period, which is available, and that cooling period is given to uh, developers, and then it is given. Yes, that is still there. The major and minor version releases are still there. Okay, and something which is really interesting, which is launched, is nothing but single file source code program. People, those who are coming from Python and all that thing, where you don't have to compile and all these things separately process have to do. They will like this feature wherein you can just write the code and execute it. So you'll get this feel like you're working in the IDEs, but you don't work with the IDEs. Even with the normal maybe Notepad or maybe VS Code, you can achieve what you could do in the IDE of Eclipse and maybe your IntelliJ, and you can just execute your code on the command line without even compiling it. That is something which has been launched in Java 11. Okay, let me go ahead and talk about Java 12. Uh, very complicated thing launched in Java 12. Again, you can see version launched in March, that is Java 12. Java 13 launched in September. Java 14 launched in March 17, that is 2020. So again, 6 months life cycle has been created over here. In Java 12, one of the most complicated method has been launched, but very effective method, which we'll talk about in the, I would not say demonstration, but explanation when I'm going to do it afterwards. So this is stream API, and the modification is nothing but teeing of the collections. So you can now collect the answers from the two collectors and club it together and maybe use it for your business purpose. That is possible in the Java 12 collectors.teeing. And then there is again stream API, as I told you. And there are few methods which are available called as a transform, indent, describe constable, and resolved constant describe. So a couple of methods are related with the user, couple of methods are related with the internal things which are available in the string. Java 8 was consisting NIO package, and nothing has happened much after Java 8 in that NIO package, but Java 12 came up with a new method which is called as a mismatch. One thing I forget to mention, that apart from maybe whatever has been displayed to you or whatever has been shared to you today, that is the new updates which are available. It's not only the updates, understand that there are the methods that you will see that the methods are removed or the methods are deprecated and so on and so on. That has been not included inside that, because additions are itself so much are there that I cannot talk about much about what has been removed and what has been deprecated. You can get it from the books, or you can get it somewhere as well. It is there covered in the books as well. So in the NIO package, there is a mismatch method which is given now, where you can find the differences between your file by using the object of files, and you can use the path object and all that thing, and you can find the mismatch between the files. Uh, Another very important thing which is available in Java 12 is completable future. Uh, I hope few of you are already working in the completable future. Nowadays, when you talk about concurrencies and all that thing, it is really difficult to work with the application without using completable future. Futures plays very important role in the industry. If you're not using it, if you're running away from that, make sure that you understand it and you work it. Today may not be a right time to go into that, but still, there are some methods which are available. People those who are working, they might be aware that what it does and what could be the use of this particular exceptionally async and exceptionally compose async implementations of the completable future. And then in Java 12, there is a compact number formatting, and the name itself, you can guess it that when you work with the numbers, uh, and when you work with maybe the currencies and all that thing, how do you make the compact currency formats or number formats so that it can be easily readable and maybe I would say presentable kind of a thing, that is given in Java 12. Wherein Java 13 is another thing which is very minor kind of a version. Something which is really something to talk about is new file system and XML parsers. We never talked about XML parsers from the beginning because there was no any updates happened in the XML parsers. You probably know the concept of SAX parser and DOM parsers. These XML parsers have been modified the way the objects are created with some new methods, which is nothing but new default instances and new instance. This is about Java 13. And in Java 14, switch case has been modified again, and there is something by which you can have the multiple labels in the switch case. There is an introduction of arrow operators that you do, and you can use the expressions inside that, and there is a yield keyword which we are going to talk about in this particular session. And null pointer exception description has been improved in Java 14. Till now, when you get the null pointer exception, you always get only one thing, that you just get that there is null pointer exception and all that thing, but which line is getting null pointer exception, why it is getting, which reference is giving you null pointer exception, all these things were not there. So that has been improved in null pointer exception, which we'll talk about. And then there is a plural support available for the compact number formatting, which has been introduced in Java 12 in Java 14. So this is 12, 13, and 14. Okay, and 15, 16, 17, Java 15 launched in September, again 16 launched in March, and Java 17 launched in September 2021. Java 15 launched text blocks, which is nothing but how do we create the strings for multi-line text, and which is really good when we talk about maybe the formatted text that you want to enter in the Java coding, like HTML, XML, or maybe JSON formats, which are useful nowadays predominantly. That is very interesting. And then there is a string API modification which has happened, which is stripe indent, translate escape, and there is a formatted method. One of the very interesting thing which is launched in Java 15 is hidden classes, which has been introduced to achieve the security, that you don't want to expose your class name in the class path, but still you want to use that particular class in your application. Then there is a hidden classes concept that you can use. That is in Java 15. Java 16 talks about how do I use. So if I talk about 15 and 16, moreover, they talk about maybe a security kind of a thing, because here also there is something default method invocation from the proxy. So you create the proxy object for the existing object, and then you invoke the method out of that. How do you do that? That is given in Java 16. And there is very interesting change in the datetime API, which is called as off pattern, which we are going to talk about. And in the stream API, you can use the method now collect, which you can use collector.toList. And then there is a record classes, which we talked about in the first slide. But as this is coming in Java 16, how do we use record classes and how it is helpful to you? We are going to talk about that introductory session, because record classes is a huge concept in the industry nowadays. And value-based classes is remaining. So value-based classes, wrappers, optional, and local time, wherein there is no process of now using the new keyword. The concept of maybe if you remember integer I is equal to new integer, that you can do. Even you can say integer I is equal to 10. So that integer I is equal to new integer is now deprecated or even removed. And you can only use integer I is equal to 10 from Java 16 onwards. So it's a value-based classes which are generated from Java 16 onwards. And then in Java 17, which is our last version for this particular workshop, special focus has been given. A lot of things have been introduced when we talk about random number generation. How do I create random numbers and all that thing? And there are certain factories which were introduced to generate the random numbers. Again, you can see that there is a deserialization filter. One thing that we talked about in one of the version, that how do I apply the filter when you want to serialize, and there was something which is called as object input filter. Here it is filtering the deserialization process, and there are a lot many other things which are available inside this. You can create filter, you can allow filter, that which are the files which are the type of the objects which are available, which are the type of the object which you want to reject when you actually deserialize the process, so that you don't end with the exceptions and all that thing. All these things are covered in the deserialization filtering. And then there is a vector API, given to you. And lastly, which is very, very famous in the current industry, which is called as sealed classes. Okay, so this is all about the overview about different versions which are available to you. Okay, so before going into the specific versions, I would like to take a pause for maybe a minute or so. And if you have any questions, if you want to share something, your experiences and all this thing in the chat, you can. Naveen, you want to add something
Yeah, there
before
is
that?
one question which talks about the security issue with the released version.
Mhm.
What if they released a version and there are some security issues there? So what I have observed is they're not releasing the feature on that particular version. Let's say one of the version is, let's say sealed classes. Now it's not like they
Mhm.
have released sealed classes in Java 17. They might have released the sealed classes preview version in 15, 16 itself, so that everyone can explore and see what they can do with the sealed classes. And once they are sure that this particular features which they have added give some values and there's no much of the issues with that, at that point they release in the final version.
Yeah. So there is a preview version, as Naveen is saying, which is perfect because many times that happens. And that's what I talked about cooling period. And they launch it as a preview version. You work around with that. So it's ultimately the developers who work around that give the feedback to the API developer that this is having the security issues and all this thing, and then there is a improvement into that. That's the right way. Okay. Chandra Chandu, how to learn Spring Boot fastly and how to get the job I am completed core Java. Naveen, you want to take that now?
Maybe once we finish the session, let's
Yeah,
take.
yeah. Okay, fine. Let's move on further and talk about. So, do we need to learn older versions of Java other than the version 17 in order to be efficient in Java, or are we okay version 17? Now that depends, Dinesh, that whether you are learning only updates in Java 17 or you are learning Java 17. The difference is that when you work with Java 17, as I'm repetitively telling you that if you do not know the streams, if you do not know the functional interfaces and all that thing, it is going to get very difficult for you. So I'm not saying that you have to maybe learn 1.5, but you have to learn at least everything about 1.8. Then it will be very easy for you. Otherwise, it is going to get difficult to get updates. Now remember, uh, using version and learning version is different. Many of you have got this particular maybe confusion or it's a wrong mindset that if I'm using compiler Java 17.0, I know Java 17.0 because as you are aware that there is something which is called as backward compatibility given to Java. Even if you are learning, even if you are using a 17 compiler, you can still compile the versions or you can still use the API which is available in Java 5.0. Of course, you will get the warnings and all that thing or maybe deprecated methods and all that thing that is there, but then it will be very difficult if you do not know the concept which has been introduced in the earlier version on which the updates of the new versions are there. I hope it is clear. Okay, what should I learn first, object oriented programming or DSA? Yaman, depends on what you want to do. DSA is not language dependent, I would say. So any language that you can learn, and DSA is independent of language. Okay, so I guess we can move ahead. Lot of questions coming to career oriented, which we can take later on. And let's begin the journey with Java 9. Okay, the first thing which was launched in Java 9 is Java Platform Model System, which is JPMS. Now, this JPMS is result of Project Jigsaw. On my each slide now, I will have this particular maybe mark here that on which version we are currently working with, so that you will not get confused that what I'm working and how I'm working. Okay, so the first thing which has been launched or major kind of a thing which is presented in Java 9 is JPMS, which is Java Platform Model System, which is changing the entire maybe structure of your Java programming, the way you structure your Java program, the way you create your project in Java program, everything has been changed from Java 9 onwards. Okay. And of course, as I told you that as this is backward compatible, many of the times you might have seen like people those are working in Java 17, they might not use modules. Like they might have created modules, but they might not have used the functionalities of the modules internally. But there is a module concept introduced in JPMS, and you can see the structure here now. And the structure says that each of the module will consist of the packages. Earlier, if you remember, I used to have the SRC, and in the SRC, I used to have the packages, and in the packages, I used to have the classes. Now I'll having the module, and in the module, I will be having the packages, and in the packages, I will be having the classes. So that's the way the modules have been changed. We'll talk about that, why it is required and how it has been modified and all that thing. And one of the thing which modules gives you or which modules is comprised of is module descriptor, which defines the properties or maybe the configurations of that particular module. Now the question is that what is there in the module or what module denotes, and then we'll talk about that why modular programming is there and what was the need for modular programming. Module descriptor is the typical file which is available in the module, which is having a name as module-info.java. And name of the file is that, though it doesn't contain a class, but it contains the keyword called as a module. I will talk about that file in my next slide, but it contains the keyword called as a module. And then you do have the module dependencies. And inside that module dependencies, you write certain things. And what you write is the packages it makes available to other modules. So every module will have the different packages, as I told you. Out of these packages, which are the packages it makes available to other modules, the service it offers to other modules, and the service it consumes, like what the things that the module gives to, what are the packages that the module gives to other module, and what it requires from other modules. Even that is also has been part of this particular module description. So it provides the services it offers, it provides the services it consumes, or to what the other module it offers. That is nothing but which packages it is going to offer. So it is moreover, I would say, strongly encapsulated architecture of Java programming, where when I create a jar file and when I say that I'm having a jar file and packages and classes inside jar file, normally it happens that when you give the jar file, every package is available out of that particular jar file and the classes, if they are public, of course, every package is available and all the classes, public classes of that package is available to the other classes where the jar file is added. When I talk about model, it is more encapsulated. It is more kind of a thing where you say that even then you use my jar file, unless I permit you to use this particular package, I am not going to, you are not going to use that package which is available to me. Okay, so that is very, very restricted way of doing the Java programming. You restrict the other developers to use your service. So it is not like that now, let's say I created some jar file and Naveen just download it and maybe use it as it is. Unless I permit it, or first thing is unless Naveen requests me to use that thing, and unless I permit Naveen, the relationship cannot be created. And that's something which is very interesting about the modules. Remember that to learn the modules, it takes huge amount of time. So maybe as I already mentioned that if you want to learn module, you need to have the separate workshop kind of a thing. It may take 2 to 3 hours to talk about only modules. A lot of things are there. Are separate books available on the modules. So you can find out those and you will use it. Why modules? Very interesting. So of course, I talked about maybe the modules in terms of the encapsulation way of Java and all that thing. But when Java started thinking of maybe restructuring the architecture which has been used by maybe the developers, the first thing that they noticed is that the number of classes are going to get increased in each and every version. And if you remember, if you use Eclipse or IntelliJ, there is one file which is called as rt.jar, which is available when you connect your JDK with your with your IDE. That rt.jar in Java 17 itself, I'm not talking about Java 21 or even 22. In Java 17, there are 5,000 classes available in the single rt.jar. So in a way, your application becomes really, really monolith application. So even though I need typically only 4 to 5 files in my application, I'm referring to 5,000 plus classes, because of which my application weightage can be increased. And I don't want it that way. Of course, encapsulation is one thing, but apart from that, this is something which is really interesting. And then Java started thinking about something which is called as a, how do I restructure this JDK so that people can use only those things which are required, or maybe I can put it in that way that I can maybe restructure or maybe destructure my Java in such a way that the common things will be present in one of the package kind of a thing, and then I can maybe use different packages in different things, and I can say that you don't need to use rd.jar. You can use just that particular module, or you can use just that particular collection of the classes. You don't have to refer to all 5,000 classes. You don't have to put everything in your jar file. And that's what the project Jigsaw was. So the main thing about project Jigsaw is to divide your JDK into set of the modules, and that can be combined at the compile time, build time, and run time into the variety of configurations. So instead of having a single jar file, now there will be different, maybe the modules which can be created, and depending upon the requirement, you can use those modules instead of referring to the entire API available. And that was the major, maybe the I would say, expectation from this particular project Jigsaw. Remember, Project Jigsaw is not new in Java 9. Project Jigsaw started the journey, as Naveen rightly mentioned last time as well, that there were some preview features and all these things. This was not launched as a preview feature, though. It was launched in Java 7, that failed. It was launched in Java 8, that also failed. As in, launched as in they thought of maybe releasing it, but they could not release it because of the drawbacks and maybe limitations of that particular feature. And then finally, Java 9 was the version where they launched it, and they divided that thing into the different modules. One of such module is nothing but Java base module. One of such module which is nothing but Java base module, and that Java base module is functional API of Java standard edition. And every other module, like for example, it is similar to kind of a thing, if you remember that there is one package which is called as a java.lang, which is automatically used in your all the classes. You don't have to import it. Similar to that, when you say that you want to create the modular programming in your Java 9, you don't have to you don't have to say that I want Java base. Java.base is automatically given to you. It defines the functional API Java AC, and every other module implicitly depends on this particular thing. So that is the way the Java module is created. I told you the advantages are different advantages: reliable configurations, strong encapsulation. You can scale your application in more better way now. Platform integrity is there, and of course, as the maybe there is no big RT.jar which is available uh, in the earlier versions. The length of the entire project will also reduce, because of which the performance of your application will be also increased. So that is something which is improved performance. Of course, advantages and all these things you will come to know as and when you use the models and all that thing. Now remember, that's what the difference I always talk about. Uh, Knowing Java 9, that I'm using compiler Java 9 and using Java 9 is totally different thing. So if you are saying that, and I'm still doubtful that industry is still working on Java 9, because I very randomly see that people are still effectively working in Java 9 everywhere where I go as a corporate trainer. I don't see that they leverage the functionality of Java 9 modules to that effectively. They do have the module, info.java file, but they do not configure it. It is available because it is added automatically by the IDE. Okay, so these are a few things about advantages of the module. Let us talk about the different maybe models which are created. This is something that we call it as model graph. And if you look at this particular model graph, at the center of this particular model graph, there is java.base. And this java.base is being used by all the other models. So you can see that the model graph says that it is the relationship between the models. So instead of having now single rt.jar file which contains lot of package, now I will have the java.base which contains the package. I will have this, let's say, java.ac which contains maybe some package. I will have this java.xml which contains some package and all that thing. Okay, and all these things are now using the services from java.base. So by default thing which is available to you is of course Java based. So sometimes it happens that similar to your maybe UMLs and all that thing. Sometimes it happens that you need to write or you need to create something which is called as a model graph when you work with modular programming in Java 9. I'm just giving you one small maybe structure of model info, or maybe the model which is used in predefined Java model, which is java.sql model. And you can see that by default it uses Java base, but apart from that, it says that there is something which is called as a requires, there is something which is called as a exports, there is something which is called as a uses. Okay, so this is the structure which is followed for all these particular things. So it establishes the relationship between the different models which are available. Now, uh, all these things that we do are nothing but the dependencies, or also directives which are used in the models. Let us talk about few of the dependencies which are available. By the way, if you want to maybe find out what are the models which are available, this is a small command that you can try on your Java, which is java double hyphen list hyphen models. If you hit this command, you will see all the available models that you can use. Okay, there are the commands where you can find out the different packages also available in the models, but I'm not putting it over. Some things I want to leave it as an imagination thing to you. Something I want you to work on that. So that is not given, but you can still work around that. And the different directives, as I mentioned, this is something which is introductory level, so I will not talk about everything because time will not permit me. Otherwise, I will talk about modules only for 2 hours, and I may not talk about maybe other versions also. But these are the different directives which are available. We'll talk about few directives. A requires directive specifies that the module is dependent on other modules. So if you see, it says that java.sql requires java.logging. What is transitive? We'll talk about that, but it requires java.logging. So whenever you say that the module is dependent on the other module, like I talked about the business scenario between my application and Navin's application. So Navin wants something from my jar file, then he will say that requires and the module name which has been created by me. Okay, so it says that the module is dependent on the other module. That is nothing but requires. Requires transitive says that the module is dependent on the other module and the other module is also reading that dependency. That means there is kind of a maybe hierarchical relationship, module A, module B, and module C. Module B requires A and module C requires B. If that kind of a relationship you want to establish, then there is something which is called as requires transitive. Exports specifies that one of the package from the module should be accessible to other module. Again, coming back to the same thing, let's say, which I talked about between me and Naveen. Like, let's say I have one module created and which contains pack 1, pack 2, and pack 3. And I don't want that Naveen should use the services which has been created in pack 1 and pack 2. I just want to say that I want to give only about pack 3. So I'm going to say exports pack 3. Now, when I say I'm going to export pack 3, uh, when I say I'm going to export pack 3, it says that anyone who is using my jar file, anyone who is actually referring my jar file inside which the module is present, he can use only pack 3. Wherein pack 1 and pack 2, pack 1 and pack 2 are used for my internal calculations or my internal business logic. That is there. I can still encapsulate it more by saying that exports to. See the way it is more over secure. It says that it specifies the specific package accessible to specific modules. We also call it as qualified export. That means Naveen has created one module which is called as maybe Telesco module. And I want to say that the package 3 which is available in my module can be available only to Telesco module. So I can say exports pack 3 to Telesco. So if I do that thing, then anyone apart from maybe Telesco, let's say for example, Abhijit want to maybe access the pack 3 and he just used my jar file in the class path and he is trying to communicate with the pack 3. Then Abhijit will not able to get that thing because module which is created by the Abhijit does not match with the permission which has been given by me. So that is something which is called as maybe qualified exports rather, where you say that only a specific package can be accessed by a specific module. Okay. Along with that, as I mentioned, lot of things are there. There is a usage, there is provides with, there is open, there is opens, there is opens with. All these things I'm leaving it to you because I just want to maybe give some introduction, and other things I leave it to you for the exploration. Okay, so this is about modules, I would say. Let us talk about few other things, and in this particular thing, uh, typically we are going to talk about again Java 9. And in case of a Java 9, I'm going to talk about few of the methods which are available in Stream API, updates in the Stream API. And one of the thing which is available in the Stream API is take while method. All of you are aware about maybe for each method, and also you are aware about the predicates which can be used in the for each method, and also you are available of the limits. Remember that if you do not have the knowledge about the what I'm talking about predicates and the limits and the for each method, then you will not able to understand it. And that's why I told to you that to move ahead, probably you need to do those things based on which the new features are created. Okay, take while is one of that thing where it works similar to filter. It works similar to filter, and it takes the elements from the stream. It takes the elements from the stream till the predicate is true. Till the predicate is true. Now the uh, requirement to understand the take while is that you should know stream. You should know what is functional interface. You should know predicate. Unless you know that, it will be very difficult. But still, for the people, those who can guess it, it is stream of. This is the way the stream is created, and these are few numbers. And I'm going to say take while n. This is the predicate which I'm going to apply. N is n mod 2 equal to 0. That means I'm going to take the data while n mod 2 is equal to 0. That means I'm going to talk about only the even numbers. And then for each method, and I'm going to print it. Again, the people those who are not aware of Java 8, this particular method reference will be little difficult to understand as it now. But system.out println or system.out print will print you that particular thing. And then you will see that if I execute this, the output of this would be 2468. So it will talk about this 2. It will say that the condition is true. For 4, the condition is true. For 6 is the condition true. For 8, the condition is true. For 9, the condition is false, and it will break the uh, maybe the streaming process. It will not actually iterate between the stream. Now, if you use a normal filter, you might get even 10 and 12 also, and only 9 will be bypassed. But if you use take while, you will see that it will continue the process of checking only till this particular condition is matched, and then it will print it, and then it will break the loop. That is the take while concept that has been launched in Java 9. In case of another method which is called as do while, works similar to filter, but it drops the element, from the stream till the predicate is true. It drops the element till the predicate is true. So this is in fact reverse of take while. It says that take while this is true, and it says that it's not do while. I'm so sorry. It's drop while, and it says that it's a drop while till the predicate is true. What is that? So drop while, you can say that there is 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, same kind of a thing. And then I'm going to say that n mod 2 is equal to 0 is my drop while, and for each. So this condition is true, so dropped. 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 And if I execute this now, you will see that it will start with 9. And the moment the 9 is reached, it says that I don't want to check the next elements inside this. So it will drop the remaining. It will not check the remaining things from the drop while. So it will just find the first occurrences where the condition is false, and from that point onwards, everything is retrieved as it is. So this is take while and drop while. The third method is iterate method, which is used to create the streams, generate the streams in the sequence. And uh, similar kind of a thing you probably might have created by using the limit. Is this the code snippet? is this code snippet is syntax for the respective methods. This is directly the code. This is not the syntax. I'm writing you directly the code which you can use. Syntaxes and all these things, of course, you can go into the documentation and all that thing. Because if I just talk about the syntax, I will leave it only to the imaginary thing. And yes, Dinesh, and that's the reason I told you that if you are clear about functional interfaces in Java, you will be able to understand it in everywhere. Reverse is also true. If you are good in JavaScript about all that thing, you will be able to understand it very easily in the Java as well. So that's true. It is almost similar to JavaScript. Though I'm not expertise into JavaScript, probably Naveen is a better person to talk about JavaScript and all that thing. I only live with Java. So iterate method is actually something which generates the stream in the sequence. So if you see this, it says that the stream.iterate, and I'm going to start from 1, and I'm going to say that this one I'm going to reach up to 10, and then I'm going to have this particular increment operator, which is I is equal to I plus 1. So this is something that I do in the iterate. So initial value, final condition, which is predicate, and how do you want to maybe use it inside iterate. So by that way, whatever stream is generated out of that, you need to collect it, and then there is a collectors.toList which you can use, and then you can print it. Of course, the output of this will be 1 to 10. Nothing new about this. So these are the 3 methods which are updated methods in streams of Java 9. Okay. The next one is private methods which are available in Java 9, and these are used to achieve the code reusability in the default or static method of Java 8 interface. Now, as I mentioned again that interfaces with the concrete method itself is something which is beyond digestion, because for years we talk about maybe interfaces without any concrete methods. By default, interfaces contains the abstract methods, collection of the abstract methods and all that thing. But over here, private methods are introduced in Java 9 to achieve the code reusability in the default or static methods or Java 8. See how it looks like typically. You can say that this is an interface which is part of Java 8, and of course it can contain abstract method if you wish, and there is a default method which is available, which is called as method 2, which contains a body, and there is a static method also which is available, which is again part of Java 8. Now let us assume that this method 2 requires some business logic, or even this method 3 requires some business logic. So what you can do is that you can add that business logic inside the body itself, or if it is going to get repeated in the other methods also, which are maybe default methods or maybe static methods, what you can do is that you can create the private methods inside the body. You can create the private methods inside the interfaces. Now, what will happen in that case is that as this is the private method, obviously it is not available to outside world, because they are private, visibility is not there. And then you can see that inside the interface, I can invoke the other private methods which are available. So it reduces the redundant code, and whatever has been shared between 2 methods, now you can put it into single method, and you can invoke that method internally through the default methods and maybe the static methods which has been part of Java 8 also. Okay, so these are the new things which are available as far as the private methods are considered in Java 9. I'm taking more time in the Java 9 because this is something which is one of the most, I would say, lengthier updates in the history when it comes to maybe 6 months release cycle of Java, from Java 9 to Java 17. And then there is a mismatch method which is available in arrays. Mismatch method in arrays returns the index number of the first mismatch element of the given two arrays. So it returns -1 if both the arrays are equal. And of course, similar kind of a thing was there earlier also, I guess. But along with that, now we can also pass the range of the array. So we can now check the slice of the array. Like let's say, for example, there are 10 elements present in the array, and you want to check that the elements from 5 to 10 from first array and elements from 1 to 5 in the second array, are they equal or not? You can find out that in the mismatch. So Okay, one of the question that I got is that if we are not supposed to use the private static methods of the interface, then what would be their usage path? There is no usage, Masood, if you are not going to use them for code reusability, because if they are private, they are not accessible to outside world like the default methods. Okay, okay. Coming back to the mismatch, and mismatch says that uh, if you have two arrays, you can compare the two arrays, and you will see that there is the mismatch available into this array, as someone rightly pointed out. It is 0, 1, 2, 3. The first mismatch is index number 3, and you will see the output of this as 3 as the mismatched element. If you do not get any mismatch, as I mentioned, you will get here as -1 as the return. Now remember that there is overloaded method available of this particular mismatch, which talks about mismatch array 1, index 1, index 2, which is nothing but starting index number and index number of array 1, array 2, index 3 and index 4, where index 3 is the starting index number of array 2, and index 4 is the ending index number of array 4, which you want to compare. So that is the mismatch things which are available. Then there is a equals method, which is used to compare two arrays or slice of the array, where this particular mismatch gives you the index number of unmatching element, equals return you the Boolean value. Equals return you the Boolean value. It is used to compare the two arrays or slices of the array. Okay, and I have shown you how to compare the slices here. So arrays dot equal 1 and 2, where 1 is the first array and 2 is the second array. It is trying to compare 3, 5 and 0, 2. 3, 5, 0, 1, 2, 3, 5. So 3, 5. And 0, 2 is 0, 1, 2, 0, 1 and 2. So 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. So I'm comparing this slice with this slice. You should see the output as true. Okay, so this is the thing that you can do with the equals method. And then we have the compare, and compare returns the integer value after checking the arrays lexicographically. I don't want to go into details of what is lexicographically. All of you might be aware of data structures and internal working about how the string comparisons and all these things are done. On the similar lines, the compare method checks the array element lexicographically, and it returns three possible values. 0 if both the arrays are equal, less than 0 if the first array is less than second, greater than 0 if the first is greater than second. And this is the compare method. This is the thing that we want to do. You can see 5, 13 and 2, 5, 13 and 2 are equal, 18 and 19, and you will see that the output is -1. Okay, so this is something that it checks with the uh, lexicographical thing. You can try it with the maybe character kind of array, and you will come to know more about what is lexicographical. I am still in Java 9, and very interesting method that we are going to, or update that we want to talk about, is the updates in the optional interface, which is called as, what is there in the chat? Okay, so very interesting method or update which is available in Java 9 is if present or else. So this update in Java 9 facilitates another runnable. Again, you need to be well versed about what is runnable and all that thing. But this facilitates another runnable if the optional object is an empty. So for example, let's say string s is equal to null, and I'm going to say, is there something which is missed? Okay. So optional string str is equal to, this is unnecessary. So optional str is equal to optional dot off nullable. So I'm creating str as a null here using optional. And I'm going to say str if present or else. That means it takes into account two arguments. The first argument, it says that if present, print me this. If not present, print me this. So if present or else gives you the facility. Earlier, if you remember, you used to have the if else condition, like optional dot if present get the optional content, and then else there is no object retrieved, something like that we used to do. Now here you don't have to do that thing. You will say if present or else, and you will say that if it is present, print me this. If it is not, print me this. So output of this is no value because this is null. And that's one of the very interesting thing which is given to you in Java 9. There is also OR method which is introduced in the optional interface. How the OR works? Let's say there is a course which is called as an optional of Java 9. Of course, you can use it in the string as well. But there is one course, there is one optional of type string which is optional of Java 9. And I want to check typically whether something is present or not into that. But the OR operator is used to return the object provided by supplier. The OR method is used to return the object provided by supplier, not of typo, if optional do not return anything. Understand that? You need two things. One is optional, second is the supplier. And if optional does not have something, I'm supplying something and say that if you are empty, I'm supplying this to you, use this. That is something which is called as supplier. So I'm creating optional and I'm creating the supplier, which is of type optional and of type string. And I'm saying that optional of no course, right? Currently, I'm having optional of type Java 9 and I'm saying course is equal to optional or supplier. What do I mean by that? It says that if there is nothing present into this optional, which is of type string, I'm going to say that add the supplier into that. I'm going to say that add the supplier into that. So let's say I want to retrieve something based on my business logic, or something has been stored into my maybe serialization process. I got that particular object and I'm presuming that the object has been retrieved and there is no object. So what should I do? Because that I will come to at runtime. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to connect the OR method with the same optional and I'm going to say that OR supplier. So if there is nothing in the optional, which is nothing but this course, okay, then I'm going to supply the supplier, which is nothing but no course. And now I'm going to say course dot if present, print this. And the output of this would be Java 9. Why Java 9? Because it already contains the Java 9. Now, if I add it here as null, it will print you the output as no course, because this is the supplier which is provided, right? So this is OR. As I told you, I'm not going to talk about everything. There is third method also which is available in the optional, but let's keep something as maybe the kind of exploration to you. But these are the new things which are available. And trust me, if you are working with the complicated projects in Java, uh, all these things are really, really going to make your life simple in Java. Let's go on to next thing, which is called as JShell. Something which would be probably very, very simpler to many of you, or something that you might like if you are working with maybe Python or something like that, because you can test your code without writing your thing. Okay. Okay. Dilip, that s variable was typo. I was not supposed to add that in my first example. That was typo. Okay. Now, what is JShell? Let me show you that if I can. So I'm going to open up Java JDK 9. Do I have JShell here? No JShell? That is strange. Okay, so I need to go into the Java bean on the console. Lot of versions. Okay, cd bean, and you can launch JShell. This should probably work. Yeah, here I go. So this is similar to kind of the Python code or something like that that you add and you check whether your code snippet is well, you're not seeing that JShell. Sorry for that. I'm going to stop share and I'm going to share that thing. Let me do that. Okay, here I go. JShell, and in the JShell, this is the JShell that is given to you. And how do I go into the JShell? You just go into the bean folder of your Java, and if the path is already there, of course you can just launch JShell. I do have a path, but I'm just showing you that from where the JShell can be launched. So this is the JShell which is available, and it will give you a prompt typically, wherein you can just type your command, or you can type the Java code and you can see what is there in the Java code. For example, if you say int value 1 is equal to 10, and you will see that the value 1 is allocated as value is equal to 10. Okay, that is value 1. Similar to that, you can write a for loop, you can write everything. For example, if I just say value 1 it will print me the current value of value 1. Okay, so JShell is typically is used to write the code snippet where, like for example, many a times it happens that just for writing system.out.println, you have to write the class definition, public static void main, and then inside the system.out.println, hello, you compile it, you execute it, and all that thing. Now I don't want to do it everything. What I want to do is that I just want to say that I want to check that how it works like. I want to say that if let's say I want to check how the array is working, how the array list is working, and all that thing. I don't have to write the program. Remember that it's not like JShell is used only to check the variable value, or it is used only to print something. By using JShell, you can also write the functions on the JShell console. You can test it that how it is working, and you can still invoke it and use it. That is possible. For example, if you say that I'm going to use void display here, okay, do that, and you will see that the void is written, and you will see that the method is created. You can write inside that whatever business logic you want. You can invoke the display method. You can pass the argument to the display method while you design that display method and all that thing. So JShell in a nutshell is nothing but the testing tool. By testing, I do not talk about unit testing and all that thing, but it is a testing tool which tests the working of your code, actually code snippet, if you want to work with that, right? That's the way the JShell is working. Okay, so you can work around with that. Very interesting tool is available, and you'll get to know that to work around with that. Okay, so let me go back to my slide, and this was about JShell. Okay, Java 10. I'm going to go quickly to the Java 10. We're already 6:20. The first method is copy off, which is used in the collection API, wherein you can create the copy of existing list. Very simple method, in fact, and you can say it returns the unmodifiable list from the existing collection. So it can be used for list, set, and map. Only one thing that you need to be very careful about, that you cannot use the nulls or unmodifiable collections on which you are going to apply the copy of. So this particular maybe original collection should contain no null, and it should not contain unmodifiable collections. Then only you can work on with that. So instead of copying it or maybe reassigning it with one by one, you can just create the list, and you can say list.copy of. Similar to that, there is a set.copy of, there is a map.copy of copy of, and all that thing which is available. Right? So very simple to remember, just copy of. And then there is a local variable type inference, another famous tool or another famous utility or another famous feature which has been launched in Java, wherein you don't have to declare the data type and can just use the var keyword. There is a lot of debate about why this is used, and I invested a lot of time on maybe finding out even the official documentation of the Oracle for months. But only two reasons have been provided by Java: that it removes the verbosity, like unnecessary indentation problems and all that thing, and it gives you more readability, right? Of course, dynamic type and all that thing is also there. One thing that you need to be very careful about var is that when you use var keyword, you have to initialize that variable, because otherwise the data type of the variable might not be created at runtime. Okay, it might not be assigned. So that's the first thing that you need to remember. You can use it in the enhanced for loop as well. That is possible. And you can use it in the local variable as well. Only one thing where you cannot use the var is the instance variable. So that's why it is called as a local variable type inference. Okay, you cannot use it when I'm going to use it in instance where I'm not sure. I don't want to comment that whether this has been improved from Java 17 onwards, because we are currently talking about only up to Java 17 up to Java 17 version. But var keyword, again, as I told you, that Java is trying to maybe match up with all the other famous programming language. Though Java itself has got so famous that others are trying to make towards Java. But Java does not want to maybe step back and say that other languages are giving, I don't want to give that kind of, that thing is not something to be in the competition. And that's why they are launching all such things. So var keyword is used to maybe initialize or defining the data type in such a way that it can dynamically find the data type according to the value which has been passed to that particular variable. So that is about local variable type inference. Invalid combinations, you cannot pass it in the method parameters. You cannot pass it in the constructor parameters. You cannot write it in the method return types. You cannot pass it in the class fields, and you cannot use it in the catch formals. Okay, like catch, and inside that, if you want to pass certain things in the catch exception E, and instead of exception you want to pass var, that is not permitted. So that is about local variable type inference. Let's get back to Java 11. First method is strip method, and many of you, those who are well aware of about earlier versions of Java, they will say that there is a trim method which is available in Java. It is similar to that, with the major difference is that the strip method or stripe method uses Unicode to identify the white spaces. For example, by using trim, you can actually trim only up to /u 2001. But by using strip, lot of special characters has been launched in the subsequent versions of Java. We have not taken care of that, but a lot of special characters has been launched into that. And uh, to strip this kind of a thing, you can use maybe s.strip. And if you see the output, you will see that this is removed and this is removed. If you use trim method, this will not get removed. Trim does not understand it, that what is this. Trim might remove this, but trim might not remove this. So this is another thing which has been launched in Java 11. Java 11 has got one more method about maybe string, which is called as a lines, and it returns the lines from the given string. Now, what is lines in the given string is nothing but it works kind of maybe a split function which is available. Only thing is that it finds out the line separator between your lines. So if this is my text, Java 9/n, not Java 9, in fact, you're learning Java 11/n, you are learning Java 11, and text.lines for each line, system out println line. So each of these thing will be creating line now. So this will be considered as one line. This will be considered as another line, and the new lines will be created, and that will be you. So people those who are exclusively working on the streams, you will observe that this is a very good feature provided by Java 11. And then there is a repeat. You can guess that it will give you automatic repetition of your code. So it returns the repeated lines as requested. So if there is learn Java 11, and I'm going to say text.repeat 3, it will repeat the line which is provided to you. Okay, so this is about the string update in Java 11. Very interesting feature which is Java 11 is providing, which is single file source code. What is this? This is your class, which is first class. Okay, public class first, and it contains system out println hello world. Traditionally, what we do is that we do it. Let's assume that we are doing it on editor, not on the IDE. I need to write this code. I need to compile it. I need to execute it. From Java 11 onwards, you don't have to do that. You just write your code, go into the console, and on the console, you have to just provide Java first.java. This is different than what we have done traditionally. Okay. Even like on the IDE, what you do is that the compilation and execution happens on the same time. Similar to that, here you say that Java first.java, and the output will be hello.world. So internally, all the things have been taken care of. So as I told you, that more simplified way to work around it. People used to say that the process of Java is very difficult. I have to compile it, then it will execute. Go to PHP and go to Python. I have to just write it and everything will be automatically given to me. Java is trying to match it. Even you can club more than 2 classes in the same file, and depending upon the sequence, that particular class will be executed. For example, over here, if I executed Java first.java, as the name of the file is first.java, it will print me hello world. If I change the sequence and if I put this on the top, and if I execute Java first.java, the second class will be executed. All of you are well aware that it is the classes which gets executed, and it is the file which gets compiled in case of a Java. Okay, so that is another thing which has been launched in Java 11. Okay, and gives me next thing, which is local variable syntax for lambda parameters, which were not given in the earlier version of local variable type inference. Now you can use string s1, string s2, and s1 plus s2. And this was something which was available in not in Java 9, in fact Java 11. I need to change it. So this is Java 11 actually. I can do it like var and var. Now people, those who are working with this particular lambda, for them there is a question. The question is that anyway in Java 9, I can, or anyway from Java 8 onwards, when this particular lambdas has been launched, I have this particular option where I say that I don't want to write this particular type. I can still say S1 comma S2 and I can use that. But from Java 11 onwards, there has been the facility which can be added, which says that S1 and S2 can have the var keyword. Can anyone talk about that, or can anyone maybe add something that why this facility is given in Java 11? Anyone, if you know this, probably something really new to many of you. There are certain annotations. Maybe see if I can get something in the chat to know that it is a variable. Okay, Krishna, makes a sense. If we want to change the type, not really, because we don't do that in the functional programming. Okay, anyway, I'll come to that. This is beyond something that you know. Uh, there are some annotations that we can apply on the variables. Okay, for example, I want to say that S1 and S2 should not be null. So there is one annotation which is provided by Java, which is called as at not nullable. That means your S1 and S2 should not be nullable, then only this will work, or otherwise exception will occur. Now, if that is something which I want to achieve, then you cannot apply any annotation directly on the identifier. Like you cannot apply your annotation on S1 and S2. Okay, but your annotations can be applied in front of a var. So I can say at nullable var s1, at not nullable var s1, and you can say at not nullable var s2. And that is the reason typically in Java 11, this particular feature has been launched where you can use local variable syntax for lambda. That is Java 11 for you. Java 12 transform method used to transform the given string and convert it to object. Okay, so this is again of the format or of the Java strings which is given to you. And in this you can see I have one string which contains Java 9, Java 10 and Java 12. And you can see that there is a method which is called as a transform method. And that transform method takes into account again the functional interface S. So I'm going to take each and every, maybe the or I'm going to take this particular str inside this, and I'm going to convert it into list, and I'm converting individual element of the list by splitting it into comma. So wherever there is a comma, that will be one element for me, and then I'm going to convert it into the list. So this is str arrays.aslist. This is the array which I'm going to pass, which has been generated by the split, and this has been transformed. So you can transform your string into the object, not only list, you can transform your string into the object. So you can say that you can even transform it into the uppercase, lowercase. Question is, why would I do that? Because I already have the methods for that. But you can transform the type of the object itself from the given string. That is possible. And the way to do is that transform, and then you pass the functional interface reference here, or body of the functional interface, and then that returns you whatever maybe your return type of this particular function interface, and store it into your list, whatever it is. And then you can see that the output would be your list, which is having the element as Java 9, Java 10 and Java 12. Indent adds or removes the white spaces from the beginning. Takes into account similar kind of maybe algorithm which has been used in Stripe, that it takes the special characters. It only talks about something which you can work around in the beginning. If n is greater than 0, the spaces are inserted at the beginning. If n is less than 0, it removes the white spaces from the beginning. And if n is equal to 0, the line remains unchanged. But if there are some line terminators are available, okay, that will be normalized. Okay, so that is nothing but the indent. Few of the methods are really difficult to understand unless you work around with that. So you need to maybe work with the different combinations to understand that. So this is about Java 12, an important method. After that, we'll maybe pause for a minute or so for maybe another break for water. Collectors.ting and something in the chat. What is the normalized reference? Normalizing is nothing but removing, nothing much. It considers it as a white space and it removes it. Don't talk. I'm not saying about is the database and all that thing or database normalization. Okay. Collectors.ting, very interesting method. It says that this is in fact update in the stream and it is invoked within the collect method. See this very carefully. It collects the data from two collectors. It collects the data from two collectors and merges their result by using supplied by function. Kind of a functional interface which is called as a by function, which you can use. And let us say I'm having the employee list with me and I want to find out the employee which is having maximum employee, or maybe I want to find out maybe maximum salary and minimum salary. Okay. Of course, as I mentioned that I'm not going to talk about what is functional interface and how does this works, but I'm going to talk about how does the teeing works. So the way the teeing works is something like this: collectors.teeing, and you create two results from the collections. So this is one result that you find out the maximum salary, you find out the minimum salary, and then you say that this particular maximum salary object and minimum salary object, I'm going to add in the hash map. I'm going to add in the hash map. So it says that whatever result has been created from these two results are there, first result and second result, I am going to add it by using the by function. And this is the by function which is supplied, that it is giving me two arguments as it is by function. And whatever two arguments are there, I'm going to pass it into the hash map, and then I'm going to print the hash map to check the result. So this is about collectors.ting, probably the most difficult thing till now that we talked about. Nilesh is asking how to use the module-info.java. Nilesh, you were not present when we discussed module info. You can reply in the chat. I'm not sure how much time will I get to show you the demonstrations, but maybe I'll talk about Naveen, and if I can share you some, okay, and I'll talk with Naveen, and if something can be shared related with the modules, I will share to you if possible. I'm not sure how does it works, but we'll certainly try to find out some solutions. Or as I told you, creating module itself is the big workshop, which we can plan maybe afterwards, some other day, whenever I or Naveen get time. Even Naveen can do that thing. He's also well over with that. So maybe we'll talk about that later. Okay. So we covered Java 9, Java 10, Java 11, Java 12. I left with 5 more and it's already 6:38. Let's see. Okay. Improved null pointer exceptions, which is launched in Java. If you look at this now, after Java 12, I jumped to Java 14 because there are no much of the implementations launched in Java 13 as far as developers things are concerned. Java 14 talks about improved null pointer exception description. Let's see what about. So, as I mentioned, it is better description of exception for developers or users. And if you see here, employee E is equal to null, assuming that there is an employee object available, employee class available, which contains get name, and I'm trying to print the name of the employee. And if I go to Java 14, it will show you the exception, and it will say that exception in the thread main java.lang.null pointer exception. Probably it will show you the line number or something like that. That is pre-Java 14. If I go to Java 14, see the way it is. Exception in the thread main and java.lang.null pointer exception cannot invoke com.java14.model.employee.getName because E is a null at com.java14.employee java14.util.employee.main. So employee test.main is the public static void main inside employee test, inside which this code is written. So completely spoon feeders. Okay, completely spoon feeders for the end user, so that It can understand where is the null pointer exception, why is the null pointer exception, and all that thing. So this is null pointer exception. Many times it has happened to me over the years that I have written a big code and somewhere null pointer exception is coming and it has been stacked to many of the other classes. I am not aware where it is exactly present. Okay, so that is something which is really a difficult thing to identify, which Java 14 will actually provide you. And there is an improved switch case launched in Java 14, where there is a keyword which is called as a yield keyword given to you. It is first time that we are seeing that the switch will be provided with the return statement, and that return statement is generated by using yield. So it is used to return a value from the switch expression, right? So in text, that means it is expecting something from this particular expression. So this is expression which is day of the week. Of course, there is an arrow operator as well, but as I told you that it is very difficult for me to cover each and everything. But this is something which is provided, and the yield will return the value. Okay, you can also use it in connection with the arrow operator, that is possible. So this is about the yield which is used to return. Remember that why I cannot use return statement. Anyone can guess that? Why there is no return statement? I could have written used Java could have said that it's return one. Why not? Very, very simple reason. Perfect. So it returns to the main function or it will exit the function, right? And that's the reason that yield has been created. Okay, so this is about 15. Java 15 talks about with text box, and it is used to initiate multiple strings in a sophisticated way. Pre-Java 15 way is kind of this stuff. You need to write everywhere the slash n's and the plus and all that thing. Let it be HTML or maybe JSON or maybe something else. Okay. And many times nowadays you need to do that thing, that how to work with the multi lines of the text block, text and all that thing. And it looks really difficult. It's non-readable thing, non-maintainable thing and all that thing. In the IDE, probably you will get this thing that you can use maybe just double quotes and then just go on pressing the enter and you will get that thing. But if you're using notepad kind of a thing, or maybe just your editors, it's very difficult to maybe work around this particular style. So Java 15 ways, you just add 3 double quotes rather than 2 double quotes. We call it as a text block. And then whatever you want to add, you can add inside that. You can add HTML, XML, JSON, whatever it is. That is text block to you. This is launched in Java. And as the text box has been launched, along with that, there are some other methods are also launched. One of the method launched is formatted, which talks about maybe how do I format. Probably if you're aware about the format method, which is already there in Java. This is formatted methods. It works similar to maybe format specifiers that you provide to the string. So there is percentages for the string, percentage D for the integers and all that thing. So we can do this. str1 is equal to percentage S, and then you can format it. This str1 is nothing but actually this str1, which you can put up over here. Okay, and str1 is equal to hello. That is what it will print me. Okay. As I told you, it works similar to format, but the format does not support the text block. Formatted support the text block. Okay, and that's why it has been modified in that way. But otherwise, it works similar to format method. Nothing much if you worked with that. Another thing, Java 15 hidden class. I don't want to talk much about that. I don't think that it will be much clear to you. But it is used to hide the actual class. No need to add the class in the class path, and used to encode and decode of the class using absolute class of the class. I'll just share you the code here. Way to do that typically. So hidden path, you create the hidden path for the file. So this is a complete path of the file, the class file that you want to refer to. And then you get the bytes of that particular maybe the file which is available. You read all the bytes from that, then you decode that, and then you create maybe use the method handler to look up that particular class, and then you use that. We will not be using that much. It is security thing which is given to you. Very, very rare thing used by the developers as a part of maybe development, but you can use that if you wish. So that is hidden classes for you. And we come across our 16, which is short classes. Java's ways of Lombok, if someone of you know about that. So creating a Java bean is something which is always being the donkey work for many of us. That I write a class, I write a constructor, then I write a maybe a getter setter method, toString method, hash code method, and all that thing. So we were using the third party API and all that thing earlier for that. Java says that I don't want dependency on others. I want to create something on my own. That's what the record classes is all about. Record classes is actually the way where the compiler creates the body of the class internally. It is a special immutable class acting as a data carrier. All the fields are defaultly final and no extend is permitted. That is what could be the difference between normal classes and this thing. No extend is permitted. Of course, when I talk about Pojo, we always say that I don't want to extend it. And that's why I call it as plain old Java object. It's a plain class because by default it extends a record class. It cannot declare the instance variable or initializers. It is done automatically while the objects are created, and there are no native methods are allowed. Again, this is one of the class which has to be discussed in a stretch. It's a lengthier class, but again, considering the depth of this particular workshop, we can do this. Maybe we can find out a couple of things, and we can talk about more about that in the later. Like maybe we'll talk about modules, record classes, collections, and about maybe sealed classes only, and only 4 functionalities for maybe 3 to 4 hours. We can do that in some other day. That is possible. That is a stretch that we are expecting. This is the way to do that. Public record customer, and I'm going to say string cust name and string address and end it with the set of curly braces. End it with the set of curly braces. That's it. The moment you do that thing, it is going to create the private final fields, which is customer name and customer address. Public constructors, equals, hash code, toString are created by the compiler internally. How do I use it? Customer C is equal to new customer, and I pass this automatically. So it communicates with the internal constructor internally, and then it works. See, now you cannot communicate with the instance variables directly. There is no getter method as such, though I say that there is a getter setter, but there is no getter method as such. But there are the methods which will be created automatically, which will be mapped with the variables or maybe the instance variables that has been part of this declaration. So there is a cust name method and there is a cust address method. So you say c dot cust name, you get Mandar, you get c dot cust address, you get cust address for Mandar, that is Mumbai. And if you just print this C, it will print you toString method, which is internally implemented, which will print you automatically the customer name and customer address. Unlike the default toString method available in the object class, where you get the string representation of the object in the hash code format, that is not there here. Okay, so that is something which you can use it by using the record. Very, very interesting class, and a lot of times you will observe this record class. This is in Java 16 and Java 17.
Sorry,
It's about
Okay, before you go forward, I have another call now. I need to connect with that. So you're the host now. So once the session gets over, you can end the call.
okay. Thank you so
And
much.
the recording will be available. So this is for everyone. The recording will be available on the same dashboard.
Mhm.
We are also going to upload this video on YouTube. So once that is done, the video will be deleted from the dashboard.
Okay, thank you so much, Naveen, for your support.
So, and whatever you want to share, Mandar, the PPT and the code, you can share with me. I will upload.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Mandar, for taking such a long session.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure for me. See you. Okay, so lastly, Java 17 is sealed classes. So as the name itself suggests you, is sealed classes, which says that the class is sealed because the others may not able to use it. Okay, so how does it sealed? So you create a sealed class, which is nothing but the special class or interface which itself permits who can extend it and who cannot extend it, right? So normally what happens is that I create a class which others can extend. I can restrict that class by saying that it is final class or not. And if I say that it's a final class, no one can extend it. But now I want to say that, let's say I create a class but I want that only probably few people, probably Dilip should able to maybe extend that, Harish should able to extend that, or maybe Harshal should able to extend that, or maybe Masood should able to extend that, and no one should able to extend that. Okay. Apart from these 3 to 4 people, no one should able to extend that. That is something that I want to achieve. Okay. And that's what you can do by using sealed class. How do I create a sealed class? I can create a sealed class by adding the sealed keyword in front of a class, which says that sealed class shape. You can add it on the interface, you can add it on the abstract classes as well, but it is saying that sealed class shape permits rectangle, triangle, and circle, which says that this class is permitted to be extended by rectangle, triangle, and circle. Apart from these 3 classes, none of the other class can able to extend it. And the way to use it is simple. Class rectangle extend shape, class circle extend shape. You can create also the subtype of this by saying that there is a triangle class which permits another right angle triangle which you can extend. Okay. So you can find out the different scenarios and you can see if I can extend this rectangle class also directly, and if I extend rectangle class by some other class probably, okay, can I get the features from the shape class or not? So again, this is the kind of a thing wherein lot of things are there internally which all of you need to understand. Lot of things are there which has been introduced. It's very deep thing to work with the sealed class, but this is one of the most important feature which is launched in Java 17 actually. So this is all about Java 9 to Java 17. As I told you initially also that all these things are available from my typically book which is available in the Amazon. So if anyone of you is interested, I will just share the link with you. I'm not sure if, yeah, I will put it in the chat. You can go to that, and all the codes related with everything is available into that book. That is available in that. Apart from that, there is 9.0 to 13.0. If you're keen about interviews, everything from core Java to Spring Hibernate is available into this Java professional interview guide. So this is all about typically Java 9 to Java 17, right? So I'm opening up the maybe platform for maybe couple of minutes, few minutes, if you want to talk something, if you want to add any questions, if you have any special request, you can put it here, and I will talk about that to Naveen, and we'll see what we can do. Let me take one by one, if I can. I have to, sir, I'm fresher. I want to be Java developer. I know core Java. What should I do to get a job as soon as possible? Okay. So Jagdeep, the first thing that you will be doing is that make yourself very expert in core Java. As I told you, lambdas, functional interface, and all that thing. And after that, if you want to make a career into core Java, the best path is that you work with the concept of Spring and Spring Boot, and you should know about something about microservices. So if I talk about full stack development, apart from UI, core Java, then little bit knowledge about web programming like Servlet JSP, because that is internally worked in the Spring MVC. And then you should know about Hibernate, Spring, and Spring Boot. These are the 3 technologies I would say that you should know. Okay, Dilip is saying that if I have to update my legacy enterprise application to EJB, which was written in Java 1.5 to any latest version, uh, there is something which is called as a JDEP. If you can make a note of that, Dilip, which can be used to uh, maybe I would call about maybe migration of Java 1.5 to maybe 9, 10, or 15. Using that JDEP tool, you can use that. Okay, so core Java advanced. Okay, yeah. So this is the correct whatever Atif have written. This is the correct roadmap for making career, and follow that, of course, Spring Boot that I will recommend for you. And then if you can add some DevOps into that, that will be great. Difference between JDK version and Java version. There is, I did not get that question. What is JDK version, Java version? Because when I say JDK, JDK comes along with version, which is nothing but Java version. So JDK is the combination of different APIs. Okay. Is it necessary to learn Servlet JSP? Can we directly move to Spring Boot? Probably yes, but then you can do the application development. But if you know the web programming internally, then it will be little difficult to answer the questions if you're talking about the interviews. please suggest a book or resource to Java 8. I will make a note of that maybe, and I will add that in my. So, Muslik, if you can get any book which is typically talked about functional programming in Java 8, you can get that book. That will be best book because that's only the major difference between earlier versions and Java 8. Is there any best book available in Spring and Spring Boot? A lot of books are available. One of the best book I would say is Spring 5.0. Let me check if I can get the URL and I will add it here. Okay, there is Introduction to Spring Framework, which is available in the Apress, which is best book that I can recommend. You can certainly go with that particular book. That is the best book which is available. How you can learn Spring Boot fastly? A difficult question to answer. Can we do GUI development using Spring? Not desktop application, but there is a Spring MVC which is available, by which you can work with Spring. You can create a web application, and of course, you can work with any of the UI development. Let it be FX or let it be maybe Swing API, and internally you can invoke Spring. But can I create application using only Spring, UI application only Spring? The answer is, I would say yes or no both. I want to be a full stack developer. I have been working with Core and JavaFX. Okay, so if you want to be a full stack developer, you should know along with that UI. So learn some UI first of all, which will be standalone UI like React and React or Angular. I really doubt about JavaFX future in coming days, but React and Angular would be something which you should know more over. And along with that, you should be good in DevOps if you want to work in the full stack development now. Okay, you are fourth year student. Main area is Java and Spring Boot. Can you please help me how to attend those? And of course, I have given you that book actually. And if you want that maybe Java interview preparation guide, it is one. It is written by me. In fact, I'm marketing myself. But to be very honest, that book covers everything about core Java, about Spring, and everything. So you can use that thing. Krishna, which link you're talking about? Are you talking about the book link? If you're talking about book link, let me give it to you. Okay. A lot of books are available, Nelso, on the REST API. Earlier, Java used to have the JavaScript engine. What was the use case of that thing? There is something which is called as a Nashorn JavaScript engine that has been used inside Java nowadays. And use case of that is, let us say, if you have some functionalities which you want to integrate inside the web-based applications and you want to use it in the Java, internally you want to use Java API and then you want to use it, then you can use that thing. Okay, it is 6:59. Let me take one more question. JDEP is the tool. It's not open source or something like that. It is present in Java itself. JDEP. Okay. And it is 7. Sir, can we expect this kind of a Spring session framework also from you? Yes, you can. Possible and all that thing. Okay, that's it. 7 o'clock. I need to also rush around with some other meetings. I'm sorry, I cannot take all the questions for maybe because it will take an hour continue, but you can drop the message and all that thing over here and we'll get back to you. And probably you can talk to Naveen, and if you can share my number to you, because as it is coming from Telescope, make sure that you get it from him. And thank you so much for listening patiently to me and keeping yourself focused for all the 2 hours. All the best to all of you. Thank you so much again.